Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Beanie, and today we are going to be counting down the top 10 relievers, and this was really hard to do, because relievers are largely, they have a lot in common with each other. As far as like the stuff that matters go, you'll have a diamond reliever and a silver reliever that'll all have similar hit per nine, similar K per nine, similar break, similar velocity, and it's oftentimes the stuff that doesn't matter that determines whether they are a silver or a diamond. So it's really tough to do something like this, but what do you do? How do you fix that? Well, there are three factors that I think can really be a separator in how good a reliever is. One is their velocity and their break. They have to have good stuff. Two is their pitch selection. If they only have, a fastball, a curveball, and a two-seam, and they have great velocity and break, they're probably not going to be the best because, those aren't very difficult pitches to hit if you don't have something to offset it. I guess that's what I'm really trying to get at. And the third thing is something that can't really be measured at all, and that's how good their delivery is. Do they have a deceptive delivery? Is their delivery easy to pick up? So those are the things that I really looked at whenever I was making this list, but it still did not make it any easier. It was a very, very, very tough list to put together, and a lot of you guys are probably going to be kind of pissed off at some of the guys that I left off. But we are going to start with a few honorable mentions, and then we'll get into the top 10 list. Okay, the first honorable mention is Brad Bach. This guy has great per nines, like almost all the other relievers on this list. And his stuff is really good, and he has good pitch selection. The only reason he didn't make the top 10 is his stuff isn't overwhelming. His fastball isn't going to blow you away. It's going to be effective, but it's not going to blow you away. His slider isn't devastating. His splitter is good. It's a good pitch, but it's not like an elite pitch. So it was just a few things that kind of kept him off the list. He was probably one of the closest ones to making it, though. Another honorable mention is Jake Diekman, and it's crazy to have a bronze on this list, but it really goes to show you how big the gap can be, or how small the gap can be between a diamond and a bronze level pitcher. I really wanted to put this guy on the list. He's really, really good, but I don't know. There were a few guys that I had to justify being above him, but yeah, I've talked a lot about Jake Diekman. You guys know how I feel about him, so let's move on to the next honorable mention. Next on the list is Craig Kimbrell, and I honestly almost didn't even put this guy on the list at all. And that's crazy because he has perfect hit and K per nine. He has 93 velocity with 94 break, but his pitch selection is just awful. He has a four-seam. Basically, he has a fastball and a curveball, and neither one are particularly hard to pick up. He's not super deceptive at all. And, at the lower levels, this guy can be really effective. But once you start to get into tougher competition, this guy basically becomes useless. I would never pitch this guy. I would never have him in my bullpen if I was facing World Series competition. Or really even Championship Series competition. Because if you can hit a fastball, you can hit Craig Kimbrell and hit him very well. This last one is really going to piss some people off because they love them some of this card. Guys, don't hate me, but the last honorable mention, just missing the top 10, is Andrew Miller. And it's simply because I had two lefties to pick from. I had two lefties that were four-seam slider guys, no change-up, anything like that, with great per nines. They both threw hard enough. They all had all these things going for them, but that lack of change-up, I just couldn't justify putting both of them on the list. You'll see the other one later. But Andrew Miller he is good against lefties. You can get the job done against lefties. And he's good against lower level competition against lefties and righties. But against the top level competition, guys that can put their PCI on a dime, guys that have really quick bats, this guy is not going to get the job done against righties. So a guy like that, a guy who, in my opinion, against good competition, is a lefty specialist, it's really, really tough to put him in the top 10 whenever you have so many guys that are better. And you know, I don't know. I know a lot of people are going to hate this pick, but I'm just not a huge fan of Andrew Miller. But I will say that he was number 11, that if I would have had one more spot available, he would have made the top 10. Okay, and now to the top 10, and this one right here even surprised me. Number 10 is K-Rod, the 94 K-Rod, and whenever I saw this card, I was like, okay, I don't think there's any way I'm going to put him in my top 10. He's kind of like the John Axford. You know, I don't know, he just doesn't look great, but then I used him in a Battle Royale run, and I loved him. I thought he was sick. He has great pronines. He throws hard enough. It seems like he throws harder than that 71 velocity would suggest. And he has a great slider and a great sweeping curve. I would really, really like it if he had a changeup like his live series version does, or maybe his rookie series version does. But he doesn't, so you kind of have to work with that. And it is kind of tough against lefties without it. But his delivery is also kind of deceptive. And once I saw that delivery and how the ball comes out of his hand and everything, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to put him in my top 10. I think this guy barely slides in ahead of Miller, and he's going to make it into my top 10. So K-Rod at number 10. Now, this is another one that surprised me because he doesn't have, and that's Joakim Soria. His pronines are probably the worst out of everybody on this list. And he doesn't throw extremely hard or anything. But there are a couple things that made me think, yeah, okay, this is a guy I could roll with. This is a guy who would be in my top 10. And that's, his delivery is glitchy as hell. Like, the ball comes out of his hand very, very oddly. And he has this, like, 68 mile an hour curveball that is so hard to wait back on if you have been peppering this guy with his 4 other pitches. Because all of his other stuff comes in at like 79 plus, and his fastballs come in. I think his four seam comes in at like 93, 94, and then his cutter comes in at like 89, 90. So whenever you're just seeing that over and over, it starts to look faster if you see that curveball once or twice, because that curveball is just nasty, man. And if you don't lay off of it, it's really, really tough to square up. Okay, and at number 8, we have the guy that kept Andrew Miller off of this list, and that is the 95 Billy Wagner. And the reason I picked this card over the Andrew Miller is, one, he throws a good deal harder. This guy is a dude that can run it up to 100. I've seen him hit 101 a couple times. This guy throws freaking heat. I hate the fact that they took away his changeup from last year. If he had his changeup, man, he would be right up there with the elite, like the top 2 or 3 pitchers. And another reason why I put him above Miller is I like his delivery marginally better. I think it's a little bit more deceptive than Miller's. I know whenever I face Andrew Miller, I'm not intimidated. Whenever I face Wagner, I'm a little bit more intimidated. So that factor right there made me think that this is a guy that I would rather have in my bullpen. I've never used this card, but I faced him fairly often. So yeah, Billy Wagner coming in at number 8. Now here's another kind of dark horse candidate right here, but maybe just a little under the radar, and that's the live series Roberto Ozuna. This guy throws, definitely hard enough, 95, 96, maybe. I don't know if I've ever seen him hit 97, but his off-speed stuff is maybe the best in the game. His changeup, I swear, it drops probably 6 feet. Like, his changeup just falls off the table, and his slurve has so much break on it. I've seen it start going at a right-handed hitter's head and end up being a pass ball, like on the right-hand side of the plate. Like, he's disgusting. His 2 off-speed pitches are absolutely filthy, and match that up with a guy that throws definitely hard enough to keep hitters honest. And this is a guy that is definitely worthy of top 7. Coming in at number 6 is Nate Jones. Everybody is kind of aware of this card. He was a silver last year. He was one of those budget beasts last year. And this year, he's even that much better. He has great per nines. And this guy probably has the best pitch selection of any of the pitchers in the top 10. He has the slider, he has the sinker, he has the two-seam, and he has the changeup. And to add on to that, he has 99 velocity and 99 break to go with it. Whenever this card is playing up, whenever he's a 99 and 96, like he is today, this card has an argument to legitimately be the best right-handed reliever in the game. The only thing about it is his delivery isn't too terribly hard to pick up, but whenever you have a sinker as your main fastball, I don't think it's quite as important because the pitch itself is so deceptive. Looking back, the Nate Jones, I don't know, it's pretty close between this card and the Nate Jones because the Jones does have a sinker, but or a changeup. But I think that putting Jansen at number 5 makes sense because his per nines are a little bit better. Plus, he has that devastating cutter slider combo that everybody knows about. It's always been filthy. And add into that, they gave him a sinker this year, which is weird because Kenley Jansen's never thrown a sinker, at least that's registered on PitchFX, in like his entire career. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen him throw a sinker. But he has one, and it's not a bad pitch. Coming in at number 4 is Dellin Betances, and there are going to be a lot of people who are like, why isn't Dellin higher? And there are going to be a lot of people who are like, why is he even on this list at all? And I kind of fall somewhere in between that group of thinking because I do agree that against higher level competition, Dellin Betances is not effective against left-handed hitting. He's definitely not a guy that I would feel comfortable pitching to Pitching Rebel against if Pitching Rebel had a left-handed hitter up there. But this guy is so good against righties at any level of competition. Against righties, Dellin Betances is maybe the hardest righty-on-righty pitcher to face in the game. So given that, he just throws so hard and his slurve is so deceptive. Like, I don't know, it's really, really hard to pick up righty on righty. So, with all that, I couldn't leave him off the list for sure. And it felt like, he's just so dominant doing that one thing that I felt like, it moved him up the list above a few other people. Coming in at number 3 is Zach Britton, and this is another one, man. I'm telling you, this list is so tough to do. Last year, this guy would have been lower on my list because I didn't feel he was as effective against righties. But this year, I've noticed that hitting righty on lefty is it's a little harder. If the guy has a sinker, the sinker isn't quite as easy to hit righty on lefty as it was last year. Last year, if you hung that sinker over the low part of the plate, it was pretty easy to square that pitch up if you're a right-handed hitter. This year, it's not quite as easy to do that. So I don't know. I feel like this guy can. Of course, he's devastating against lefties. And his sinker-slider combo is amazing, but I feel like it's pretty effective against righties too, so that warrants him being, one of the top 3 pitchers in the game, and I don't know, looking back, I feel pretty confident putting him here. The worst per nines on this list belong to Kelvin Herrera, but I put him at number 2. One, because he plays up a lot, so his per nines, they go up. Right now, he's sitting at 84K per nine and 92 hit per nine, and that's pretty good. But this guy is just a pure stuff play. Like, his stuff is so good. This guy is going to be hitting 100 for you consistently. This guy has a wicked changeup, a wicked slider, a serviceable curveball. He has 5 solid pitches. Sorry, I just hit my mic there. This guy's stuff is just absolutely tremendous. He's just as good against lefties as he is righties. Honestly, a lot of people will be like, how can you put an 85 gold at number 2 on the list? How can you put a guy whose per nines aren't 99.99 on the list? And I'm telling you, with the relievers, it's a little bit more complicated than that. You really want to look at delivery. You really want to look at stuff. And if you use Kelvin Herrera effectively, now the way you don't use Kelvin Herrera is you just go up there and throw fastball after fastball after fastball. That's not the way you use him. He becomes really easy to hit if that's what you do. What you do with Kelvin Herrera is you go up there and you mix his pitches relatively evenly. You go up there and you throw the changeup 20% of the time. You throw the slider 30% of the time. Throw the curveball 10% of the time, and then you mix in the fastball. You want to throw, you want to mix his pitches really, really well. And if you do that, this guy becomes the best right-handed reliever in the game. And coming in at number 1 is absolutely no shocker at all. It is Aroldis Chapman. Chapman, I believe, is the only guy with 99 hit and K per 9 and 99 velocity and break. The things that matter the most, he is perfect at them. He is literally perfect. And he throws 101, 102. He's got a wicked slider. He's got a wicked curveball. This guy can face lefties. He can face righties. And when you're at the plate facing him, a lot of the times you just kind of have to guess because he's throwing so hard. You almost have to guess. You have to say, am I going to sit on the changeup? Am I going to sit on the fastball? Am I going to sit on the slider? And if you're wrong, you're probably struck out, or at best, you're going to foul the ball off. This guy is, if anybody has anyone other than Chapman as their number 1 reliever, it's wrong. It's wrong. It's objectively wrong. This guy is the best reliever in the game, and it's going to take something awfully special for him to be dethroned in that position. Anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you don't want to murder me, because I know that there were some controversial picks on here, but I'm telling you guys, it is tough to put this list together. And honestly, I almost feel bad that there aren't more silvers on this team, because I think there are a lot of silvers that deserve consideration. Like, should I have put AJ Ramos in here instead of K-Rod? Should I have put who's another really good silver reliever that I could talk about? I don't know. I'm not gonna go look for them, but there's some really, really good silver relievers in here that definitely have an argument to be in the honorable mention, to be in the top 10. And I think you can put a good budget bullpen together and really use them all year. But guys, with all that being said, I guess I am done. I'm gonna try. They just put out a new patch to fix a lot of the gameplay issues, and that's largely why you haven't had a ton of gameplay. It's just been really inconsistent. There's been several times where I filmed and something's gone wrong. The game's froze. Something like that. The game has been really laggy. I got queued up. But they just put a patch out to fix a lot of those issues. Hopefully it did fix them, and you'll be able to expect more gameplay and stuff like that coming from me. But anyways, guys, I will see y'all later. Please like, subscribe, retweet for your chance to win an Eric Hosmer jersey that Eric Hosmer took a pen to and wrote his name down. That makes things more valuable, apparently. So yeah, with all that being said, guys, I will see y'all later. Peace.